When we cultivate that presence and peace within, it makes it easier for us to attune and connect with others.
Welcome to Homes That Heal, the podcast that transforms your life and home into a sanctuary of health, healing, and happiness. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and your guide to living intentionally. Each week, we'll explore a variety of wellness tools, along with detoxification, weight loss, and anti-aging tips to boost your energy and align your mind and body so you can thrive in life, not just survive. Your health is your wealth, and it all starts at home. Let's dive in and create a home that heals. Hey friends, Jen here. Welcome back to Homes That Heal. Thanks for tuning in today. I am super grateful you're here. I have a delicious treat for all my fellow Hodigs today. I'm joined by my dear friend, Kelly Anunson from Embrace Yoga in my hometown of Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Now, she and I have been friends for years, and I asked her to join me for many reasons, but here are a few I want to highlight for you. Number one, she's stunning inside and out, and her voice grounds me like no other. I just love talking to her, and her energy literally radiates a beaming bright light you'll see in a few minutes. Number two, there are a lot of myths and unfortunate information about yoga, and I really wanted to dig into the real wisdom behind it. And number three, yoga was and still very much is a huge piece of my wellness wheel. So we're going to talk through the mind-body connection and why it's so incredibly important. Kelly is a truth seeker who follows her dreams with a desire to share her vibrant energy with others. She is a Reiki Master Practitioner, Compassionate Inquiry Practitioner, and Certified Yoga Alliance Instructor. She's deeply passionate about healing the whole body, mind, body, and spirit. She understands that a sacred space inside the being is essential for the journey to health to take place. Her intention is to lift others up so that they can experience a joy-filled life. Embrace started as a vision for creating a space for everyone to access guidance on how to live a meaningful and purposeful life. She is a wife, mom to 4 boys, gives fantastic hugs, plus one of the most compassionate humans I know. Whenever I'm home visiting, I make it a point to attend a class at Embrace, or sometimes I actually plan my entire trip up north around one of her events. I love them. I'm so excited for you to meet her today. Also, it's divine timing to discuss movement, my friends. During the first couple months of the year, we are bombarded with workout apps and fitness gurus and online routines, and if it's just like so overwhelming, and much of it feels like really robotic and mundane. So we're going to talk through the beauty of yoga, mindful movement, and the energetic power of being in the room practicing with others. I talk to a lot of people every day, all day, every week, and the common thread I hear is that so many people are feeling lost and disconnected from their bodies. And yoga truly shaped and supported me during my weight loss and overall health journey. So I hope this conversation bridges an opening for you to maybe try it for the first time, or maybe it inspires you to find your way back on your mat. Either way, I'm grateful you're tuned in with us today. Please welcome my dear friend Kelly to the show. Welcome, Kelly. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I am fabulous now that I see your shining face. What a gorgeous, first of all, I tell you this all the time. I love talking to you because of your grounded voice and your energy, but now I have like the most gorgeous sunset behind you as well. I'm just framing you up. You are so a vibrant love light. I love it.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. So this is a long time coming for us to do this show because
It is.
I personally have told you you need your own podcast. Sorry, I'm going to say that on air just for the record, because there's so much about your life and, Embrace and the yoga, yoga practice that you teach, just everything about the way in which you move your life and create joy and peace and balance and teach this to other people that I not only just cherish you as a friend and love practicing yoga when I'm in town at your studio, but you have just completely opened up. I mean, yoga's been a part of my life for a long time, but meeting you and becoming friends with you and dialing deeper into the practice has really opened up a beautiful doorway to me to understanding what yoga is and can be for your life, that it's not just movement, so to speak. For me, it just really feels like it has a deeper meaning. And I know that you have an amazing story and journey that you can share. But I'm really curious, like, what was the moment that you realized that yoga was more than just an exercise to you?
Mm, that's a great question. Okay,
I
so
know.
then if it's okay to backtrack.
Yeah.
So my first experience with yoga was on a VHS tape with Rodney Yee when I was in high school. And I had no idea what yoga was. I had no idea what to expect. And for me, it was exercise in that moment. I had no
O-
idea that it was anything outside of exercise. And
Okay.
then in my early 20s, I went to my first yoga studio and I left there feeling like nothing I had ever experienced before. It called and spoke to my soul. So
Hmm.
now flash forward, right? And we didn't have a yoga studio where I lived. That was when I was traveling and I checked it out and absolutely loved it. It literally just made my heart feel something I had never experienced before in any kind of practice that I had done. So then fast forward, because I was on my career train then, right? Like
Corporate. Yeah.
plugging, plugging away and in my career field. And fast forward about 15 years later, and I found in my journal after I became a yoga teacher that I had written that 15 years prior that my dream was to own a yoga studio and become a yoga teacher. And I forgot. That's why we journal, right? That's why we do those things. I forgot that that was even a dream or a vision because life takes over and you
Oh,
keep
wow.
doing the things. And I didn't own a studio in that moment. I was a yoga teacher, but I didn't own my studio. But it was very much in my heart that I wanted to own a yoga studio. But COVID had happened and all the things. And
Hmm.
it didn't feel like a possibility, but I just kept thinking it was, right? And
Hmm.
so we opened our doors to the studio in 2022. And when I look back upon all of the manifestations over time, it was divine timing all the way through. The whole
Yes.
sequence, how it all laid out, just divine timing. So my journey with yoga though was in for me it was not just about a lot of people show up to yoga like I did. They're looking for exercise. They're looking
Yeah.
for something to help them either look better or feel better.
Mm.
And that is how I landed in yoga at first, not
Hmm.
recognizing that yoga was so much more and it was a way of life. And the
Yes.
moment that I really stepped into understanding that yoga is not just showing up on a yoga mat for an hour a day. It is so
Hmm.
much bigger. And I started putting that into my life. That is when the magic happened. That's when the real shift, not just for me, for my family, because, right, what we do in here is
Hmm.
magnified and multiplied outside of us to our families and our communities because we've learned to show up here first. And I believe
Yeah.
that's what the practice of yoga does.
Agreed. I think, I mean, I've told this story 1,000 times on the show, and I know that you and I've talked about it, but my journey into my own health and movement started with me just going to a yoga class, extremely intimidated, quite frankly. I was like back row, rolled out my mat. I'm like looking around, like, okay, who's going to be looking at me? I was so nervous, but I knew I was just feeling called to start moving my body and get that connection. Um, and first of all, I realized within a few minutes, like everyone's I mean, the yoga bubble is a thing. Everybody always says yoga bubble, you're in your own little yoga bubble, your own yoga dome. That's really a thing because if you're truly focusing inward, you're literally like in your own world. You're not even really paying attention. And for the first time that day, I actually went inward and wasn't paying attention to anyone else, although I was nervous leading up to it. But once you start listening to the cues, and I think as an instructor, and this is obviously a credit to you and all the fabulous teachers out there, like there is a connection between the person leading and teaching as well. And I had an immediate like connection to the grounded voice. I was listening, like really listening. And then I just shut everything else down, like everything else around me. And I remember thinking, I could face plant right now and no one's really paying attention. Like I was just really trying to work within my body and how I could move. And I wasn't worried about anyone else. And aside from the fact that I felt pretty blissful after that movement, because I'd never moved my body like that before. But I remember at the end, there you're sitting in prayer and you're just, giving gratitude and thinking. That was also the next time I kind of looked around and was like, oh, you're in this room with all of these other people. Like everyone's kind of holding space. And I just remember, like, it changed my life, Kelly. Like it literally changed my life and my mind body connection. And I've never forgotten that. And it's been so powerful in my life to continue my practice. But so one of the things that I wanted to ask you with that being said is like, you made a good point. Like, it's not just an hour on the mat, it's how we live our life. It's our lifestyle. So what do you think it means? And I've been digging a little deeper into this personally myself, to live a yogi lifestyle on and off the mat. What does that look like? Or how could you describe or share a bit there?
Love that. I just want to, before I answer that question, if I can backtrack to that experience for you, is that when
Yeah.
I wanted to open a yoga studio, everyone, because obviously we're right on the heels of COVID, said online, just do it online, everything online. And I kept saying, I want people to step away from their busy, away from the laundry, away from the
Yeah.
kids, away from the pets. I want them to have a sacred space to land, right? Which, of course, when you have a studio space, there's a lot more risk involved, as you know, when you have your own mortar building. But what you just said is exactly why I wanted a studio space instead of just teaching online, which both have pros and cons to both, right? But I really wanted to hold space for that. That was so beautiful. So living a yoga life to me, I talk about this a lot with my students, because what we do on the mat is really cultivating how we want to live and experience our life off of the mat. So, for example, one of the things that I think about a lot when I'm teaching students and helping them to find what's called a drishti point or a focal point is when we learn how to focus and call in breath, then we can move into balance, right? So we find our focus, we find our breath. Now we can move into a tree pose or a standing pigeon or something that requires or challenges us, just like in life. When we're challenged in life, a lot of times we become reactive, right? We don't take that sacred pause. And that's when mistakes happen with ourselves, with relationships, with decisions that we make, versus when we take that practice on the mat that we practice each and every day, so that instead of going into that autopilot or that reactivity mode that we get very highly tuned in on because we're always in that stress mindset, yoga allows us that chance to find the breath and find the focus so that we can come from a space of responsiveness. And so I think about what we practice on the mat, how I can really encourage my students to take that into their hearts, into their spirits, so that as they walk out into the world, into their real life, into the stress of their jobs or relationship situations or sickness or whatever the challenges are, that they have something here they can always drop in and come back to. And that's showing up at the practice, because that's the power of choice. And that's the power of learning how to be something called svadhyaya, self-study, right? To study yourself and know how you want to show up and navigate this world so that you're living in a space of vitality and joy, and instead of in struggle or strife.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that is, oh, that's so beautiful. And I think I had mentioned to you earlier too, when Jean and I were in Sedona last year, we practiced, we did yoga like twice a day. Of course, Sedona, it's like you got the most gorgeous backdrop and the energy in the vortex. And it was one of the things that we wanted to do every day. And we were just digging deeper into the teachings of why we're practicing, like going deeper into this mind body connection and like the Sanskrit and like, what does this mean? Because I think that, again, going back to the thought that people think that this is just an exercise, there's so much more meaning to it. And I think that's why a lot of people are leaning into yoga and movement now because they're craving that mind body connection. They want a why. They want the rootedness. They want to feel something. Like I said, I feel blissful. Like there are days, like on Monday, it was my birthday actually, and I
Oh, happy
decided,
birthday.
oh, thank you. It was a Monday morning after the holiday, right? And it's like, I'm going to go to yoga, right? When I should be in the business. And like you said, I should be doing in the busy, like after the holidays, you know, everything in my mind was telling me, get in your office and do these things. You've been away for 2 weeks, like da 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 da. And I was like, you know what? I am not going to do that. I signed up for the class. I was having a bit of anxiety because I'm a businesswoman. I like to be moving and doing my things and making my connections. But I have to tell you, I even got on that mat and I was like, oh, I literally had to sit with myself and think, you have nowhere else to be for the next hour
Yes.
besides this in this body. Like I turned 45. I feel very grateful to live this life. And I just thought, here I am, 15 years after my first yoga, 16 years, and I'm still talking to myself. And it's okay, right? Like it sometimes is intimidating, but I think that's one of the beautiful things is it's called a practice for a reason. We're practicing and it's an evolution. And I'm vulnerably saying like sometimes I struggle with going, but I have to tell you, I was in tears in Shavasana, like because of the gratitude I felt, but also like I feel so blissful after spending time with myself and moving my body and being in flow. And the room was packed. There were like 20 of us. It was beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah, it was such a great container. The music was divine. Like it was just so good. And yeah, I just loved it. So what would you say to the person listening who's maybe felt intimidated or, I'm sure that you get this often, like, what would you say to somebody who's like, ooh, I don't want to go, like my body doesn't do that. Or, Mark and I sometimes talk about, he's like, oh, I'm not flexible. So then he
I
doesn't
hear that all the
go.
time. Yes.
Yeah. Like, so
Actually,
what,
also some myth busters. How does that
I
sound?
was actually going to say there were some myths I wanted to talk about too. So let's talk about myths and things about yoga.
So you brought up one of them when you were talking about thinking of yoga as movement, right? The asana part of yoga. There's 8 limbs to yoga. Asana, or the movement, is just one of those 8 limbs. But yoga actually predates all religion. And it was not about movement and it wasn't
Mm,
about beliefs. It was about self-realization.
mm.
And that's how yoga really started. And actually, the other thing is men were the only ones who practiced yoga for a very long time.
No
So
way.
there were no women because men were, think of them more like the saints, right? Or the ones
Oh,
that the leaders in the
yeah.
communities. That self-realization was a practice that was first cultivated by men.
Okay.
Okay, so something else that's kind of interesting is that so there's 2 things that go hand in hand here is that yoga and Ayurveda are the sister sciences. So Ayurveda is the science of life, and yoga is how we get into alignment with life.
Mm.
Okay, so one
So this
tells you
is
what
why I
your
have
nature is. right? So
I was gonna.
Ayurveda tells you what your nature is, and the other shows you how to live in harmony with it. And we could go deep into that dive, but let's just keep moving. So the other thing that's really fun to think about is that um, the whole point of having movement in yoga in those 8 limbs was not because they were trying to get physically stronger. It was because they were trying to prepare them for samadhi or self-enlightenment. And so if your body cannot sit still because your spine hurts or your hips are sore, then it's very, very hard to reach a place of breath work and meditation and self-contemplation or self-study when your body
Mhm.
is wiggling, right? When your eyelids are
Mm,
constantly fluttering or you're tapping your leg and you can't seem to sink into stillness. So the reason why asana or yoga poses were first created was to help bodies to become limber and prepare the
mm,
body to reach this place of deep stillness for deep contemplation and hopefully
mm,
move into that next realm of self-realization, to find your truth, right? To come back to the truth of who you are. So
mm,
one thing that I hear a lot, especially in the Northwoods, is that yoga is a religion, and
mm,
yoga can be very spiritual, but it is not a religion. There's nothing that we worship. What yoga is showing up to pay attention, right? It's
mm.
just that
I love
simple.
that.
It's showing up to pay attention. The other one that you brought up is people will say to me that if you're a yogi, you need to be flexible and zen
Yeah.
and calm. And people are yogis are hot messes, right? Like they come in with their chaos. They come in as their human form. It is for literally everybody. And you just show up where you are. Right?
Yeah.
That's why I practice. And I tell my students all the time, it's yoga practice, not yoga perfect,
Oh,
right?
love that.
Because that's what we're cultivating is a practice showing up and showing compassion to where you are right here in this moment. That's it. It's that simple. And I think that a lot of times people have that roadblock of starting their first class because they think they need to look a certain
Yeah.
way, do something, and they think, I can't slow my mind down. I can't stop. I'm too nervous. I'm too whatever, fill in the blank. And that's
Right.
not true. So yoga should be able to meet you wherever you are. Um, Another thing I hear a lot is that yoga is escaping your real life. Spirituality is trying to escape your real
Mm,
life. And I believe that what we're actually doing is learning how to live fully in the life we have. We're
mm.
showing up so that we can become more present, so that we can have deeper connections with ourselves. We can have deeper connections with our partners and our children and our family members and our community. Because when we cultivate that presence and peace within, it makes it easier for us to attune and connect with others. And,
Yeah.
and it's just a way of being more grounded and at peace.
Hmm.
So, do you have any other fun
Yeah.
questions along those lines?
I was I was just gonna say I feel like maybe I have some other myths to bring up because I've certainly lived all of them. And thank you for all that. This is exactly why I wanted to chat with you today. It's because I'm still a learning student, as well as I knew you always have just such a grounded way to like bring it full circle and like bring it into alignment. Um, I don't know. I mean, I definitely fell into the trap too of feeling out of place. I mean, just transparently speaking, I started when I lived in Rhinelander, and then I moved here to Madison. And then there's a lot of these studios, and everybody looks a certain way, and it's like, oh gosh, I didn't have the matching outfit, or all of these things that in ways in which, and I know you kind of already talked about that, but I think that that was a very important piece to highlight and really shine a light on is that you don't have to show up in some in a way in which that you're not. I'm very comfortable showing up in my sweatpants. Like I don't care at all that I have a matching cute outfit. Of course it looks like you're put together more, but to your point, like some days I'm not put together. Like right now currently, some days we just are showing up in the form that where we're at. And I think that that's what's so beautiful right now is like, I think we're living through a time now where like, we're kind of crusting around this corner of people being more safe and, okay and vulnerable to let others know that they're not okay and that that's why we're here. We talked about the sound bath experience that that we were in a couple weeks ago at the winter solstice. Like, I can't tell you how enlightened and peaceful and loving it felt to be kind of cocooned in a room with 45 other people. I mean, I didn't even know most of those people, of course. And it's just like, it just felt so collective and so like in community. And I think that's just another thing too, like we need to kind of get over the thought of looking at each other as the way we show up or hop out of our car, more as like we're all human beings, some of the one here showing up to collectively work on our own alignment. And so yeah, I just think that that's such an important message that I'm saying out loud, honestly, for my own self right now as well. So thank you for sharing that. Do you want
Well,
to talk a little bit
to
about,
your
oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, to your point with that, is the human journey is navigating the 10,000 joys, the 10,000 sorrows of the human experience. And the joys and the sorrows that you have, the ones that I have, they're also different. So there's no two people that will show up in the same experience, in the same mindset, because we all have so many different moving parts taking place, shaping us, redefining us. And what you felt at that winter solstice is part of why I I have so I have been so passionate about having a space for people, because we really have disconnected as a society, even before COVID,
Mhm.
into, we're in the technology revolution, and there's so many good things that come with technology. But really what happened is a lot of disconnection. And when you disconnect from having places to congregate with neighbors, with community, when you start to take that away, not only does it take us away from what we need for humans, we need one another, we need our tribe, so to speak,
Mhm.
but it also creates a disconnection within ourselves, because without people to commune with, we start to disassociate in our own energy field as individuals. And so when we
Mhm.
feel our hearts weaving together in a collective embrace, like that winter solstice, or like in a yoga class where you all just came full circle, right? You started the class, you all came in, your minds were busy from work or from school or from whatever the situation. You go through an hour practice, you land in a shavasana to open your eyes and realize, I'm safe to just be me here for these few
Yeah.
moments in stillness. You just had a nervous system reset so that you're out of fight and flight that we're in all of the time. And the energy that surrounds
Mhm.
you is just like this moving orb of light that we just wove our hearts together collectively and shared that space and love with one another. And it amplifies the experience, right? I can do yoga in my
Yeah.
living room by myself any day, anytime I want to. But when I show up in the
Right.
studio and I am with 10 or 15 other humans sharing the experience, the way what you take out of that room is amplified just from the presence of
Yeah.
one another. And I
Yeah.
love that you brought up showing up in your sweats, or you don't need matching outfits, because the only thing you need is comfort. To just show up in comfortable
Mm.
clothing that allows you to move and breathe and be expansive. And that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, I have to say, I actually used to go, and so it just kind of depends on my mood, but just honestly, I have been going in sweats and more free flowing, comfortable clothes because sometimes I don't know, I love my tights and my leggings, but sometimes they feel restrictive and my
Mm,
body wants to breathe. Like I wanted to breathe, or I felt like sometimes you get hung up on like falling down on the waistline or like you get fidgety with your clothes. So I have found over the years that I don't need to look or wear a certain thing. What I need to be is comfortable and in flow and to let my
yes.
body be able to be in flow. And so, depending on the season, it might be a tank top or something, but it's usually sweatpants or free flowing clothes so that the body can breathe and the body can move. And the room,
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, is full of people wearing all different clothes. I'm just saying, like, that's definitely a myth that I had to bust in my own head. Especially, there are some studios and some places where, people do show up in very well put together stuff. I prefer to show up as a hot mess most of the time. So that's, or in my own world. And sometimes that's me just heading out the door and not even worrying. It's just mismatched stuff. Nobody
Mm.
cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody
And
cares.
so I
Nobody
just
should
love that.
care.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody should care. Um, okay, so I want to ask you about I know you do these beautiful wisdom talks. I know that's part of some of the teaching that you do, and you talk about the 4 pillars of balance. Do you want to shed a little light on that, or?
Yeah. So part of what I do is yoga and meditation, the instructor part. But the other part that I'm super passionate about is to help people come into health and vitality through my therapy services. And that's really,
Mhm,
just, uh, I, it's as a practitioner, just holding space for people healing through trauma, their pain,
mhm,
feeling like they're stuck, right? So I think a
mhm,
lot of times people are embarrassed to talk about their sadness, their insecurities. And instead of moving forward, they begin to shut down with belief sets of, I can't do this. I've always been this weight. I'm never going to lose weight. I've always
mhm,
done this. Therefore, right. And we get stuck into that mindset and helping people to shift into the possibilities of what it could feel like to love yourself and to create a life that you love, that you fall in love with your own life is possible for
mhm,
every single person. And people just don't believe that. They don't believe that's a
mm,
possibility. So I feel like my greatest gift is shining light on those possibilities and helping people to find it, whether it's in their mental health, their emotional state, their physical state, or it's usually all of them, right? And just helping them navigate it. So my upcoming wisdom talk that I'm going to offer online is
mhm,
to really speak to people as we're moving into this. We've moved into the year of the horse, which is really standing in this beautiful grace and power. And I want to move with that momentum and help people because, we know the statistics of how many people will make a New Year's resolution and they don't make it to February
oh yeah.
1st. Then they start this cycle of shame. Right? The cycle of shame, they get cocooned in it because I couldn't even stay at the
Mhm,
gym for 2 weeks, or I couldn't even,
right.
stop eating ice cream and binge watching Netflix, or whatever the situation is. Or maybe it's something like, I'm still always yelling at my children, right? Like there's so many different ways that people are trying to heal themselves and they
Mhm,
just fall back into those old patterns. And it's a biological state that needs to be unwoven, right? Through that subconscious
mhm,
patterning that takes place. And so I thought by offering something where it's accessible to as many people who want to join me, I could at least
mhm,
plant those seeds of what is possible and small steps that people can take to start cultivating that balance that they seek to have. And outside of what I do for a living, I feel that outside of all my degrees and certifications and all of that type of thing is that I live it, right? I'm a mom of
yeah.
4 boys, owning a business. And so I know how busy feels. And I know
Mhm,
how it can feel like you're being pressurized, right? And so speaking to it, I come from this place of I walk the walk. I don't ask you to do
yeah.
anything that I don't do. And I know
Mhm,
how good it feels on the other side.
yeah.
And so I,
Yeah.
I just want to speak that love to people who can do it from the comfort of their own homes. They don't have to make that appointment to see someone one-on-one because a lot of times that's what shuts people down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I wanted to mention that too, is because your wisdom talks, as I've told you, I mean, I've listened to them over the years and been a part of those, and they literally have, as you said, planted the seeds and just really help people shift in their mindset and shift in their thoughts, as well as, again, collectively be in company with other people and know that you're not alone in these thoughts or you're alone in these feelings, or that you're not the only one that has this type of self-doubt or self-talk. It's just so important, I think, and it's a way in which people can connect with you if they can't come to the studio. And I know you have so many different gifts with Reiki and all the different intuitive spiritual things that you're involved in. I just love the fact that you offer this. And I know this month, which I think will be past by the time the show airs, to be quite honest, the 4 pillars. Is that something that's recorded, or do people go back to? I hate to put you on the spot,
Yes,
but is
it
it
is
just
going to
the
be recorded and available, so anyone can reach out to me for that and work
okay?
with me one-on-one, because I work online with people all the time from all over
Yeah.
all over the world. So anybody who's interested can reach out to me and we can definitely connect.
Okay, that's awesome. Do you so where do people we should mention that. How do people connect with you, find you? I know Embrace is the studio in Rhinelander, so you can share that, but if someone wants to chat with you and get to know some of the services, what's the best way to connect with you?
I would say they can either look at our website, which is embracethejourney.studio, or they can find us on Instagram or Facebook. Again, it's Embrace
Hmm.
Yoga Healing Arts Meditation Studio. And just send me a message or schedule an appointment, or just watch. If I'm on Facebook, I always put my upcoming events. So some of them are
Hmm.
virtual and some of them are in person, but they're always there. And no matter um, whoever this lands with in your audience, if it prompts you to question or get curious about where you want to head and how you could grow yourself in this year, whether you reach out to me or to somebody else, just reach out, right? Because it's when we're in community, when we have that support, that we can really begin to shed some of those limitations and those fears that hold us back. And at the end of the day, I think most people, it's fear. It's that energy of fear
Yeah.
that holds us hostage from making the changes that we really want to shift and make.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I love the fact that you mentioned, we're coming off of a time of, new year, new you, people hit the reset button or they set these goals. Um, I I myself, my own journey, especially after 2025, shined a light on a growth edge that I didn't know existed, to be quite honest. But also a lot of people that I'm connection and speaking to, like, I think we're more in a space of like, how do we elevate and continue to fine tune? I decided to call this year, there's momentum and things moving and grounding and shifting. But for me, I'm just setting new sacred standards and boundaries in my life, not necessarily goals, because a goal is something, I mean, I'm a goal hitter. Like I can set a goal and hit it if I really want to. But can you, you know what I mean? Like I can create a list, like we're human beings, like we can do something if we want to. For me, I really want to set some new sacred standards for my life, things that are non negotiable, things that
mhm,
shape and really root and hold the foundation for my life and my lifestyle and my health and my wealth and my well being. And that's not a goal. Like that's a choice and a decision. And I think that's one of the big shifts that I personally had in this last year of the shedding of the snake, or, for whoever wants to call it. Like, I think it was a destabilization for me and literally shook me to my core. But so many blessings came out of it. And it was to set some different standards of peace, protecting my peace at all costs. Which yoga obviously is something that's been in my life for a while, but sometimes, it's easy to not show up for yourself. And last
mhm.
year I showed up for other people by choice, and I'm going to be shifting into more alignment for my own well-being. And so just really focusing in on um, honing in on the wisdom of being soft with yourself, I guess, or just being a little bit more curious about how you can elevate your life. And I know the 4 pillars of balance are a great place to start, but just getting in community or getting connected with you and getting these nuggets of information and these affirmations are just really important.
Yeah,
So thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing. Yeah, thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. I know you shared where everybody can find you. Any closing words of wisdom from you?
I would say that uh, in this space that we're holding regarding yoga is if you have any curiosity whatsoever about what that would feel like for your body and for your mind, to find the closest studio and find a teacher that resonates, right? Because that's really important, to find connection with a teacher that you can trust and be vulnerable with, because you will go deeper into yourself and deeper into your practice. Not to say online isn't beautiful, it absolutely is. But when somebody sees you, right? Somebody sees you and sees your body and can help you shift and find alignment, not just
Mhm.
how the pose should look, but what your body needs in that pose is very different, right? So it's not about what it should look like. It's about what your body needs. And oftentimes in our own home practices, we don't know that, right? So then we
Right.
create muscle memory doing something that maybe isn't serving us. But if you just have time with a teacher, it can take you deeper into that practice. So I would encourage people, just be so curious about yourself this year and so compassionate that this is your year to really turn over a few new leaves and challenge yourself to do things that are a little bit different. And I think that's how we continue to grow.
Beautiful. Well, I love it. And I love you. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. Like I said, I love seeing your face
I love
and just
seeing
being
you.
in your energy. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm like selfishly, I just wanted to talk to you and connect and just, shine a bright light on you and everything you do and all the wisdom that you have to share, but also just sharing this beautiful conversation with people to get compassionate and curious with themselves. So we will chat soon and I will definitely see you in studio soon. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Jen. Namaste to you all. Bye-bye.
Namaste. Bye. Okay, friends and fellow wellness warriors, thanks for tuning in today. If this show was helpful and inspired you, please head over to Apple or Spotify to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us, as well as share it with your friends and family. It's a fantastic way to grow the show, expand my reach, and teach others how to create a vibrant life they love. If you're ready to invest in your health and purchase a Clear Light sauna, hop on over to jenhellerlifestyle.com and send me a note. Thanks again for tuning in. I love you. I'm grateful for you, and I thank you so much for your support. You are the reason I do this work. You are the reason I do this show. And you are the reason I get up every single day with a burning desire in my soul. Cheers to your health and happiness, my friends. We'll see you next week. This podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you think you have a medical condition, consult your licensed physician.